Hey gang, welcome back to the human side of marketing. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, with, what's your name? Curt Stockwell, the host of the most.
That's my name. I'm still going by that.
Okay, good. Curt, we're in episode 3 now.
Yep.
And we're picking up last episode 2, we went through the first 5 out of 10 myths that people have about websites. And today we're picking up with myth 6 through 10. So
yes,
I want to dive right in. Myth number 6 is that people actually care about our mission statement. They're like, hey, we've got to put our mission statement on the top of our website or something. Like, tell me more about what you were thinking.
Yeah, this one's kind of a sensitive one because when I bring this up in a meeting, I try to be very PC about it. But the reality is we get very excited about our mission statements. We get very excited about the internal things of our business. And that's because of usually lack of understanding on how to unpack great content on your website. We just kind of default to, let's just put the mission statement first because we've really thought that through. Now, mission statements are great. I think mission statements should be there, but put them on the lower part of your website or on the About Us page. What you don't want to do is when somebody lands on your website, we've kind of talked about the fact they need to understand 3 things. They need to understand, where am I? Is this for me? And what's the next step I should take? Mm-hmm. Is this website what I'm looking for, right? Yeah. Is this website, so this website has a service that I'm interested in. Am I really interested in how this company is providing that service? And I am. Now, what's the next step I should take? We need to unpack that in about 7 seconds. Now, when you kind of mess that up is you put give prime real estate to your mission statement. Yeah. And the mission statement usually is kind of something that internally you use as a rudder or a guide to your goals and your vision, and that's fine. But mission statements are okay. Put them on the lower part of your website. People at the end of the day, they probably really don't care about your mission statement if you're solving their problem.
I think somewhere along the way, though, people could have gotten confused maybe with things like Start With Why, like Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. And we're like, well, we really want people to know why we do what we do. And so then they put the mission statement on their website. But to your point, within 7 seconds, I, as the consumer, can't tell really what this is about and how does it help me based on your mission statement.
Right. And usually mission statements are very kind of 1,000-foot view of the company. A lot of very wordy, lofty kind of concepts, which are fine, but don't put it at the top of your website. And, honestly, if you can avoid putting it on your homepage, I would even recommend that. Your homepage, we've talked before about the homepage of your website, and really most of your website is kind of like the first date, your first date, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody remembers the first, maybe a great or a terrible first date that they had with someone. And your first date, you want to look your best. You want to present yourself well. You want to be engaging, but you don't want to be talking about stuff that's super boring, or we're going into conversations that probably should be on the second or third date. Now, if you really think about the homepage of your website as this first date, ask the right kind of questions, give the right kind of information, and then kind of shut up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think less is more sometimes. I remember hearing you and I listened to some similar podcasts, and just some of the advice out there, like try to take the amount of text on your homepage down, like 80%, 50%, 80%. Less with more.
There's been some recent studies that great websites have about 100 words on their homepage.
Wow. That's probably like an extra myth. I mean,
because I think that's the bonus myth today.
That's the bonus. Yeah.
Your website is saying too much.
People cram way too much on their site trying to get it all done in the first date. And I just don't think you need to do that.
Right.
Got it. Right. I got it. Okay. Let's go to myth number 7, which is websites are too expensive.
Yeah. We talked before, and we're going to kind of go into this really in the next myth too, that websites are this necessary evil. So this actually kind of is a good precursor to that. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people look at their marketing as expensive. And there's kind of a really kind of blunt way to say this is it's only expensive if it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's good.
If you've got a problem that gets solved and your ROI is there and you're creating relationship and you're providing utility for your customers and it's a vital tool for your business, then really no price is too expensive if the return on your investment's there. To make a million, if it costs $1 million to make $20 million, would it be worth that initial $1 million?
Yeah.
But if it cost $1 million to make $1 million, well, that was a kind of a loss. So I think where people get this idea that websites are too expensive is because they've had bad experiences of paying thousands of dollars for something that was a big dud.
Right. I think it's important for people because a lot of people selling websites will say it's an investment and it's going to appreciate the value and people will say it's going to give you an ROI, but I think sometimes that's not always true. I think it's important if you're the consumer and you're hiring somebody to do a website that you have to ask questions like, how does your website help me create an ROI? And then you have to listen to the web developer or the designer give you an intelligent answer. I think that's what's great about you guys is you understand how websites need to tangibly move people towards a call to action.
Right. And that comes from clarity. Yeah. Clarity of your messaging. We like to say that content is king.
Yeah.
And, great content moves people. Mm-hmm. If your copy or your website is confusing, then you are going to lose, and it will be too expensive, and you will deal with another website that you get the bill and you're rolling your eyes. We've all been privy to experiences with buying things as business owners, and you're like, oh man, that was too expensive and it didn't work. And then there's other things where, wow, that was really expensive, but man, am I seeing a return on this investment? I would spend that money again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. That always feels good when you get that one right. You're like, oh yes, I spent money on it and it actually worked. Yes. That's so good.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I go back to the clarity of your content, the clarity of your website. Later in the podcast, we're going to give you an opportunity to connect with us to bring more clarity to your website. So
I love it. So good. Okay. Do you want to move on to 8?
Let's do it.
Yeah. What you said is a precursor. So, precursor to 8, which is websites are a necessary evil. Dang, websites.
We got to do the website. The reality is many people have had terrible experiences getting a website built. Right. There are companies out there who just do a terrible job of communicating, do a terrible job of delivery, don't deliver on what they say they should. Right. And I think that there's been so many businesses out there who've had bad experiences like that, that they just kind of assume that all website related anything is this necessary evil. And it's 2018. I'm supposed to play on the internet now with my business, but what a big pain in the neck.
Yeah.
And usually that's usually from a bad experience.
I think it's short-sighted. I mean, one of the things that you guys talk about, you've already said it in this call, but I think, when you guys look at the 3 things a website should do, which is ROI, relationship, and utility, like adding value to your people. And if that's what your website does, there's no necessary evil to that. That's all value,
right?
And business boosting stuff in a website.
Right. One thing that we always tell every customer that we onboard is, hey, good for you for investing into providing value to your customers. Mm-hmm. I think that sometimes as business owners, we get a little short-sighted in the things that we need to do to run our business outside of the 4 walls of our business. When we are in a certain industry, let's say you're in an industry where you're creating widgets and you just bought this new machine that's going to help you create widgets more quickly, then you're like, wow, what a big win. We're so excited about this.
Right.
I can't wait. And then when it comes to going outside of the 4 walls of your business, we kind of forget, well, there is another experience happening, and it's the experience that my customers are having in interacting with me. Right. And so when we get short-sighted on cost, or we get short-sighted on some of the things that we need to do as businesses to provide a great experience for our customers or our users, then we start looking at those things, whether it's a website or whatever, as this kind of necessary evil. But I challenge people to kind of rethink that as it relates to connecting and providing relationship with your customers. The thing about 2018 and our current culture is we are just inundated with noise, so much noise. And whether this is a marketing tool or whether this is some other way of engaging your customer, if you can reduce that noise to your customer in whatever way possible, a website's a great way to do that by clarifying your message. Then you're going to win. And your competitors are going to be scratching their head going, their product's the same. What are they doing?
Right.
Well, you're providing better relationship opportunities with your customers. And your customers are going to go, wow, they really care about me because they're making me a priority. And I can tell that by what they're producing in the way that I connect with them.
I think that's the thing I like about your quarterly service, like your marketing spotlight thing, where you're giving your clients a chance to use their website. Most people buy the website once and then park that high performance vehicle in the garage and never drive it. But when you have a website that actually ongoingly tells your story or tells the successes of your clients' stories, and you can use it that way, it's not a necessary evil anymore. It's actually a useful tool.
Right. And it's another way that we use that quarterly program is to bring clarity to maybe something in the industry that your customers are experiencing and they're confused. For example, if you're a financial company or you're in some sort of business where there's a moving target constantly because the government's changing things or regulations are changing or whatever. And on a regular basis, you are bringing clarity to what they're hearing in the news or what they're reading in articles or what they're hearing around town. And you're going, hey, yeah, that does seem a little scary, but here's the thing. We've got a great service that's going to take care of you. And this is how we do that. Right. A lot of times, and we've even experienced this with, ourselves, we try to do the best we can, but there's sometimes where people go, oh, I didn't even know you did that. And bringing clear, consistent, what we like to say is consistent consumable content. If you have consistent consumable content that is kind of unpacking not only what you do, but how that affects your customers, your customers or your users will really appreciate that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that your website can become a thing that is a connector with your clients rather than this thing that you never use.
Right.
Hello, should we go to the next one?
Let's do it.
Number 9, all web designers are the same.
Yeah, we're kind of hitting on a lot of these experience things now with some of these myths. Yeah. And the reality is not all web designers are the same. Yeah. So usually the genesis of a web designer comes from the area of graphic design. Yeah. Or the area of, you're a guy that likes to write code and a few people have asked you to build websites. And so you build websites. And usually so you got a kind of a right brain, left brain kind of person, right? You got a right brain person. I think I have this right. The creative side's right. And the analytical side's left. Okay. Yeah. You got that creative side, which they're typically kind of shiny object people, right? And they'll promise the world. And then they're like, oh, I forgot what I was supposed to do. And I didn't deliver what I was supposed to deliver to these clients. And then you got the left brain side, the kind of the more developers, the code writers. Yeah. And, just kind of by nature, those types of guys like to, if you put them in a dark room with 50 hours worth of work that they needed to do, they would plod along like a mule and get it done. Right. Well, sometimes they're not the best communicators. Or when they communicate, they kind of come off a little rough and a little sharp on the edges. Yeah. And so that's usually the genesis of where web developers come from. And a lot of it is kind of getting the production out there and forgetting that you need to have a relationship with your clients. Yeah. And one thing that we're really focused on here at Well-Dressed Walrus even from the beginning was we want to be the Nordstrom of communication. I read a book when we were just kind of getting started about the difference between Nordstrom and Walmart, right? You can get a shirt at both places. Right. But you expect a level of customer service at Nordstrom. Yeah. So you're willing to, the price tag that's associated with that shirt is because the level of customer service that you're expecting is there. So we're committed to communication. We're also committed to really understanding what you as a customer needs for your website. We don't throw a dart at the wall and then draw a bullseye, then draw a circle around it,
Yeah.
or then draw a bullseye around it. We
Right.
determine what's our bullseye, and we're listening to you, and we're going after that together. So
Yeah.
I think as far as the all web designers are the same, they are the same if they're not committed to those things. And from the get-go, we've always been very committed to the customer experience and the and communication. Do we get it wrong sometimes? Absolutely, but we try to make it right whenever that happens.
I like that you, you bring up a great point, because you have sometimes you either have the left brain people building your website or the right brain people building your website. But what I like about you guys, like you and Andy, got both places covered. Like you've got the creative and the analytical sides covered, so that I think the combination of that creates a website that's really thought through.
Right.
On both sides.
Right. When Andy and I, people always ask us, how did you get the business started?
Yeah.
Why did you name the business such a weird name?
Yeah.
I say that Andy and I met, and Andy was building really well-built websites that were super boring.
Yeah.
And I was building really pretty websites that didn't work very well. And so we kind of have a nice yin yang going on. We kind of joke around with our titles. I'm the director of colors and shapes, and Andy's the director of ones and zeros.
Right.
So it makes a nice little yin yang there to make sure that the final product is great. And we have a great team member on board named Jana, who makes sure that everybody's getting their stuff done.
Right.
That project manager that is cracking the whip when necessary, because we're all human, and there's times where we might let something drop, but Jana makes sure everything is running smooth over here at the Walrus HQ.
Yeah. Well, I know you must be doing something right, because multiple years now you've been voted #1 web design company in Spokane, I know. So
right. Yeah. Through Bozzy Media. Right.
Yeah. I think that's, I think success leaves clues. And I think that's one way that you guys have definitely risen to the top there. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's fun when we're out networking and people are like, oh, I've heard of you guys.
Yeah.
I'm aware, but I've heard of you guys. And that's kind of fun now, because when you're slugging it out in the first few years of business, like nobody knows who I am, and I feel like I'm out here in a desert all by myself. So it's fun now getting some recognition, and I think a lot of it comes through that commitment.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Well, let's move on to number 10 then. So let's wrap it up with number 10, which is any hosting and security for my website is okay, or because they're all the same, or I must have the highest security for my website. Talk to me about what you see from people with this myth. Right.
And we could do a whole nother episode on this, and we'll get Andy in front of the camera for that one.
Nice.
So hosting is important. If you don't know what hosting is, your website code, all those ones and zeros have to live somewhere for someone to access them. Right. So that's your code, or all your ones and zeros are living on a server somewhere. And then your domain name, or the www. whatever, just points people to all of that data that then gets sent back to your phone or computer or whatever. So hosting. So hosting is important to have it done well. Now, websites, the way that websites are built these days are becoming more and more complex. So there's a lot of moving parts behind what's driving your website. And a lot of times those moving parts need to be updated. Not even a lot of times, every consistently, they need to be updated religiously. What we like to say is our hosting package is kind of taking care of everything under the hood. And so checking with the engine example, we're checking the oil. We're topping off the fluids. We're checking the serpentine belt and the brake pads and the rotors, and just making sure everything's running smooth. Because those moving parts, and like I tell people, your website is a living, breathing thing. Okay. It is. It's not like print. Once you print something, then whether you hand them out or they sit in a box somewhere for 6 years, it's the same thing. Your website's living and breathing, because the internet is always changing. The search engines that we use, the browsers that we use are constantly changing. And so they're displaying your website differently from year to year. So all hosting is not the same, because you need someone on the backside of your website knowing what's going on with all those moving parts. Now, you can get hosting that's like $3 a month. And there are some great companies out there who have great customer service. But the reality is, when something breaks, who do you call? And when something is not working correctly, or a form is not delivering the data correctly, then who do you call? And that who do you call thing is usually a critical piece of getting that whatever's broken back up and working again. And, really, time is money. If you've got a tool on your website or a piece of utility that's not delivering, and your customers are not able to interact with it, or they're not able to buy your product, they're not able to engage with you, that could mean thousands of dollars in a snap of your fingers. Now, do things break on the websites that we build? Yep, they do. And we have a team dedicated to making that work whenever it needs to be fixed. And we have a single point of contact, or a single path of contact, rather, where a customer can just send a simple email to help@wdwalrus.com. And that email creates a ticket, and it alerts about 3 people on our team. And if it's a 911 emergency, people are dealing with it right away. The other myth of, I must have the highest security for my website. So security is very important right now. Google actually just released some requirements where you have to have a SSL certificate associated with your website if you're acquiring any sort of data, such as a form. So if you have a form on your website that says, what's your name, what's your email address, submit, or contact form, what's your name, email address, what's your message to us, submit. If you're requesting any data from your customers and you don't have a secure SSL certificate associated with your website, you've probably seen it. On the upper left corner of your browser, you'll see a little thing next to the URL that says not secure. Really, all that means in most cases is your form that you're asking people to fill out is not secure. Is that something that's going to get somebody into a situation where their whole website's getting spammed or their customers are getting spammed? Maybe, maybe not. But when somebody sees not secure and they're on your website, they're going to go, whoa, I'm out of here. I don't know what this is, but I'm not playing anymore. And a basic SSL certificate can be purchased for, it's not that much money to purchase. And actually it is included in our monthly hosting and support package. Now, when you hear about this SSL thing, and really all you have is just a simple form, and your knee-jerk reaction is, I need to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get the highest level security, and you're not selling products, you're not asking for credit card information, you're not asking for social security numbers, things like that, you could very easily and quickly overspend working with some of these companies out there that are just out to take your money. And there's plenty of hosting companies out there who just want to take your money. So that education piece is important too. And we're always very willing and transparent to, kind of unpack what you need and what you don't need.
I feel like the takeaway on that for me is ultimately I just want somebody I can talk to that can tell me what's appropriate for what I'm trying to do with my website. And I think when you go to places like hosting companies, sometimes, their incentive is to sell the product versus when you're working with somebody like you guys, you're not really attached to whether you're selling the product or not, because it's not your hosting, right? It's like you guys will host through people and manage all that, but it's not like you have this server farm of servers in Arizona where like Well-Dressed Walrus is, it's your servers. It's you guys become this great guide or consultant for what's appropriate for everybody's individual needs on their website.
And that whole server farm thing. So basically what we do, and really any business out there, the days of having a server sitting in your office and that's where you're hosting websites is gone. And if you're working with a company who they have a server in their office and that's what's hosting everybody's website, you need to think of another option, because if that office burns down, then you're in trouble. So what we do, and what a lot of companies like us do, is we purchase high security, high level hosting through a professional provider, and then we then subsequently provide a service for our customers.
Right.
Our hosting provider, they have all the security and the earthquake protection and fire protection and multi-sites where if one goes down, the other one pops up. And that's really where a great solution can be found with a company that's doing something similar to that, which we are.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Do you have any like final thoughts about like the myths? I mean, I think there's a lot of uncertainty or concern or fear or confusion around websites. So there, like, give me some final thoughts on just how do we make this all easier? And
yeah, so really, it just comes down to clarity. The mission statement: it's too expensive, necessary evil. Web designers are all the same. What kind of hosting do I need? Really, it's all just about clarity of either your messaging to your customers, clarity of what do I need as a company, and we'd love to provide that clarity. If at the end of the video here, the podcast here, you'll see an opportunity to go to clarifymywebsite.com. Again, clarifymywebsite.com. Just go to that URL and connect with us. We'd love to chat with you, whether it's rethinking your website content as a whole, rethinking the homepage of your website, answering some questions regarding what you need or don't need as a company moving forward. I would go to clarifymywebsite.com and we'd be happy to connect with you.
So on that, I go to that website, and on that will be a page where I can schedule an actual call with you. So it's not like, it's not a chat on the internet, and it's not like a email ticket where you have to wait 24 hours. It's actually, you just schedule a call with you, right? Right.
Yeah. With myself, or depending on the subject matter, maybe Andy.
Sure.
Related to more, if it's
left brain, right brain. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Depending which brain you need to talk to. Yeah, exactly. Schedule a call. Yeah, exactly.
So good. I mean, I think that's it. I think ultimately what you need, you listening to this, is somebody who can guide you towards the right solutions. And to just say like, oh, well, what you need is a website is obviously doesn't get it all done. I mean, I think every business has its own unique needs. And what you need is a guide to sort of sift through that. So what a cool offer that they can go, it's a free call, clarifymywebsite.com, schedule a free call to kind of figure out what next steps are and see what you need to do to take your website game to the next level.
Right.
Another great episode 3.
Thank you, Chris.
Bags. Yeah, I love it. I'm excited to talk to you in episode 4. Until then, have a great one.
Hey, thanks, man. Thank you.